Boxing has its own interpretation of your body and how much you can put on, how much you can take.
6 names circled Lou Duva's mind like ring lights around a canvas. Fighters who annoyed him, challenged his values, or forced him to show the sharpest edges of his temper. These aren't simply opponents on paper.
I'm a motivator more than anything. I'm a motivator, and I motivate them in the dressing room.
Each one tested what Duva believed boxing should be: honesty, courage, and a willingness to trade. This is the story of those 6 men and the nights, camps, and moments that made Lou keep score not only of wins and losses, but of character.
Okay, sir, we ready. Couple words for Polish fans.
Polish fighters are one of the...
1. Hector Camacho. The arena smelled of perfume and cheap cologne the night Hector Camacho walked out. Sequins caught the spotlights. A high-pitched chant followed his every step. Back in the corner, Lou Duva bristled, not because the crowd loved a fighter, but because the fight felt like theater. In sparring, Camacho danced, taunted, flashed speed and smiles. Reporters loved the press conferences where he braided bravado and knockout promises. Duva watched the tape. He watched the feints that never turned into commitment, the punches that brushed air. During camp, Duva slammed the mitts down with a sound like a gavel. Real punches. Make him feel it. Camacho shrugged on camera. In the gym, he smiled. On fight night, Camacho's entrances swelled into shouting. He boxed sweetly for 7 rounds. Duva paced the ring apron, jaw working. When the champ finally connected in the 8th, the roar almost drowned the slap of leather. Camacho's hands retreated as quickly as they had come forward. Afterward, under hot lights, Duva took his fighter aside.
Meantime, Chavez.
No long lecture, just cold truth whispered by someone who'd spent a lifetime measuring men by their wounds. Camacho kept the show going. He kept his bank account healthy. For Duva, that was the problem. The man could make a crowd gasp without ever letting someone else gasp back. That kind of performance, Duva thought, was a betrayal of boxing's sweat and blood. 2. Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker moved like water. In the ring, he was a whisper of motion and a museum of technical perfection, defensive wizardry, elusive brilliance. When Duva watched his opponent slip and slide,
Fifth round, I can't give him the round. That's a nice round for De La Hoya again, although one of the better rounds.
he admired the craft. But admiration did not soften Duva's impatience with a man who refused to commit. In the gym, Whitaker practiced angles and counters until the room looked like choreography rehearsal. He'd win on points a dozen different ways. Lou respected that. But boxing, for him, was also currency paid in guts. There were nights Duva wanted more than art. He wanted the bell to be met with a man who understood that art sometimes has to turn messy and savage. At a press luncheon, Whitaker smiled when asked about going for a knockout. "I don't need to punish to prove I'm better," he said. Duva heard it on the radio. He remembered fights where the clever man kept his face clean, only to wake the next morning and find the public's memory had drifted elsewhere. When Whitaker boxed the way he always had, immaculate, evasive, winning on cards. Duva chewed over the old idea. Beauty is fine, but don't rob us of blood. In corners, after close decisions, Duva's jaw tightened at the thought of a style that never offered full risk. 3. Andrew Golota. Some men fight with fists and some fight with fouls.
Andrew, just give me 1 minute. Last night, you were so quick with the fans. Just tell us what it means to be here at the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and especially on a weekend where we've lost Muhammad Ali.
Andrew Golota belonged to the latter category in the stories Duva watched unfold on late-night broadcasts. Low blows, headbutts, clutching. Tactics that find the line and then step over it when the ref looks away. The memory of a televised brawl burned into Duva's mind. Chaos in the ring, chairs flying, men running. He had seen fighters lose by cleverness, but fouls felt like theft. In one bout where Golota's tactics boiled over, Duva sat on the edge of his seat, fury visible in tight fists and muttered curses. When a fighter lets his hands wander into illegal places, it's not just a point deduction. It's disrespect, Duva said to anyone who'd listen. He had argued with referees on more nights than he could count, sprinted into locker rooms to defend his men, and stormed up the aisle when a foul cost someone the championship they'd earned. Golota's style, if one could call it that, forced corners to improvise, trainers to shout for protection, and sent managers into feverish negotiations with officials. To Duva, dirty tricks were a personal affront to the sport's code 4. Tyrell Biggs, Olympic gold, bright lights. Magazine covers. Tyrell Biggs carried expectation like a heavy coat. Promoters sold futures. Analysts made him a headline. Lou Duva watched prospect after prospect be braided into legend before they had earned it in the ring, and he hated the way hype became a shackle. Biggs moved through the amateur ranks like a comet. Overnight, pundits drew championship timelines on napkins. Lou had seen it. When men spend more time polishing biographies than learning to take a punch, something vital gets lost. In training camps, Duva would measure the man's stomach, the set of his shoulders under exhaustion. He'd watch whether the eyes still burned in the 8th round of a long spar. On fight day, Biggs looked immaculate, but when the veteran across from him started to press, to make the rounds real, the young man blinked. It wasn't that he couldn't fight.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Lou, what's going to happen? 3 rounds. Was you going to take a dive? No, I'm not taking a dive. We're knocking them out.
Oh, you thought your boy was going down in 3? That's wrong.
We're knocking them out in 3 rounds.
It was that he had been fighting a picture, not a person. Duva's scorn for overhype was simple. It sells the idea of greatness, but buys the man out of the work it takes to be great. When the prospect fell short, Duva didn't dance on the grave of a career. He was angry because the sport deserves better than polished promises. 5. Tony Tucker came up the heavyweight ladder like a brick wall disguised as a man. Years of grinding had taught him how to stifle ambition. Promoters used him as a measuring stick, and he accepted the role with quiet pride. Beat the hopefuls, stay the obstacle. Duva respected a gatekeeper's craft, but he loathed the smugness that sometimes accompanied it. Tucker wasn't dirty like Golota, nor glib like a showman. He simply boxed to deny. He would clinch at the edge of a round, take the half-step back, throw a stiff jab to keep a challenger guessing. It was tactical suffocation. When Duva put one of his prospects in the ring with Tucker, he pointed to the corner and drilled tactics until the fighter's face looked broken from repetition.
Evils, under 20 seconds remaining in the 6th.
Why was that?
To the 6th.
Don't give him anything, Tucker told the press after another fight. Duva wanted his men to beat gatekeepers and walk out stronger. He didn't want them ground down by hours of dull attrition and questionable judging. The feeling Lou carried was a complicated one. Respect for the job Tucker did, and resentment for how that job stalled careers and starved nights of drama. 6. Meldrick Taylor. The tape ran backward through Duva's memory, the frantic final round, the bell that saved one man's title and cost another his pride. Meldrick Taylor's career threaded with moments of brilliance and bitter controversy. Lou Duva remembered the fights where timing, judgment, and human fallibility collided. Taylor boxed with speed like a punchline, blistering combinations, angles, a champion's confidence. Yet some of the nights Duva watched ended with questions. Did the ref, did the corner, did the scorecards do right by the fighters? Duva had been chastised in public for some of his instincts in the corner, for stepping where he shouldn't or for shouting too loudly, but he did those things because he felt the fight's heartbeat in his bones. When champions balked at hard defenses or when decisions were split and messy, Duva's anger turned to a grim, personal disappointment. A title shouldn't feel like a consolation prize. He wanted belts that had been fought for under honest circumstances. If judging or a corner's misstep robbed a man of that, Duva carried the memory like a burr under his skin. 6 men, 6 kinds of grudges. Lou Duva's anger never hung on one single cause. It stemmed from a fierce devotion to the ring's truth. He wanted blood earned, not pretended. Courage shown, not claimed. Contests decided by fists, not theatrics or cheap tricks. These are the figures who set his teeth on edge, not because they were villains on paper, but because they tested his ideals about what boxing should be. In the quiet after the lights go out, when gloves are washed and towels folded, Duva's memory kept those nights alive. He told stories about the fights that mattered and swore at the ones that didn't. Love and loathing in boxing were just two sides of the same coin for him, and he spent his life betting on the one that required men to step up, trade, and find out who they were by how much they were willing to bleed.